Alright, this is Sandmarc's Telephoto Tetraprism lens for iPhone. And honestly, this might be the most serious lens they've made so far. It's sharp, it's heavy, it's expensive, and it's absolutely not for everyone. So let's talk about what this lens actually does, how it compares to Sandmarc's older 10x telephoto, and whether this makes sense for anyone outside of a very specific niche. First thing you need to know, this lens only works on a telephoto camera of your iPhone, not the main 1x camera. And that's a big deal, because your final zoom depends entirely on which iPhone you're using. For example, iPhone 16 Pro has 5x telephoto. Some newer models drop that to 4x. So you can't truly call this lens fixed focal length anymore. It's basically stacking on top of Apple's telephoto system. Smarter in theory, but also way more limiting in my opinion. Physically, this lens feels very Sandmarc. All metal, pretty heavy, zero flex. It honestly feels closer to a real camera lens than the phone accessory. But because of that, you're not just casually carrying this. This is commitment lens, in my opinion. You bring this because you already know what you want to shoot. You can technically attach it to other phones using the included clip or a specific case with the 17mm threads, which is pretty common for lenses like this. But I'm not sure it's gonna work on all the phones the same way. In the box you also get this included filter mount, couple caps, cleaning cloth, carabiner, clip, lens itself, pouch, and another case. So you're pretty much covered. And if you don't have a specific case, you can try to attach it this way. Just keep in mind that it's going to cover part of your screen this way. Now let's talk image quality, because this is what we're interested in. And this is where this lens kind of shines, in my opinion. Compared to Sandmarc's older 10x telephoto lens, which is here and it's kind of huge, this one is just better. It is sharper across the frame, especially in the corners. And that's important because the older 10x lens was mounted on the 1x camera, which is technically the best sensor on the iPhone. So you don't expect much of a quality from this one. But even then, the corners were never really sharp on this one, and you also had to focus it manually every time. This tetraprism, even though it relies on the telephoto sensor, gives you more consistent image from center to edge. It feels more refined, less experimental, if you will, more intentional, and almost 3 times smaller and lighter for sure. At these focal lengths, the focus is kind of brutal. And even though unlike the 10x had the manual focus ring that you had to adjust every time, which basically puts it on a tripod-only territory in my opinion, this lens uses autofocus of the telephoto sensor, but in this scenario you kind of lose the close focus ability, where you can focus manually with this one and get closer. With this one, you just have to be there. You have to be pretty far from your object. Depth of field is razor thin, even for the phone. Handheld shots are hard, and you will miss focus. A lot. This lens, just like the 10x before it, rewards slow shooting. Tripods, patience, careful framing. Of course, you can shoot it handheld. There's a lot less error than with the 10x here. But if you're trying to move fast, this will fight you entire time. And since I've already reviewed this 10x telephoto, here's a quick comparison to the new Tetraprism. The 10x lens feels like a clever hack. It's fun, it's chaotic, and when it works, it looks great. But it always felt like you were pushing the limits of what's reasonable on the phone. Soft corners, demanding focus, and very little margin for error. The Tetraprism feels like Sandmarc stepping back and saying, okay, let's do this properly this time. It's not as wild, but it's far more controlled. And you can use the autofocus if you're far enough from your subject. You can also zoom in more, but that's gonna be a digital crop. On the newer models of the iPhone, it's more forgivable because you have 48 megapixels to work with, but on the 16 Pro, for example, this is only 12, so I would not crop too much, just stay at 5x to be safe. Now, just like with the review of 10x before it, the price. Yeah, it is still too expensive. At this price, you're firmly in niche territory. You're buying something that only works on a specific iPhones. If you're lucky on some other phones, maybe. It depends a lot on Apple's camera decisions in the future, and it could become obsolete faster than real camera gear. And while I was testing this for the past few months, I always kept coming back to one thought. That's a tough sell. So who is this actually for? In my opinion, this lens makes sense if you already love mobile photography, you enjoy slow and deliberate shooting, you want extreme compression and subject isolation, and you're okay with this being a special purpose tool. If you want versatility, speed, or value, just like the 10X, this is not it. So final thoughts? The Tetraprism is easily Sandmarc's best long lens so far. I would say it's on par with their regular 2x telephoto. It fixes many of the optical issues of the older 10X. It's sharper, it's more consistent, it feels more mature as a product. But it's also more limited, more expensive, and more dependent on your iPhone model than ever. And just like the last time, this isn't clear yes. It's very careful maybe, and only if you already know exactly why you want it.